Right. Hello, people. Right. I don't know if you're going to understand the relevance of what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it to you all anyway, in the most logical way that I can possibly say it. Now, when a person goes out and threatens somebody, intimidates them, bullies them, abuses them, violently attacks them, uh, I mean, probably a prime example would be a debt collector or something like that going around to somebody's house to pick something up, and doing the usual bullying and abuse and threats and intimidation, or police when they're literally, they've made their mind up straight away, we're going to go after this person and not this person. This is what the New Zealand government, the ACC, the Crown, and the police, and the Ombudsman, and the commissioners, and all their staff and all their management, this is what they do to people. Now, those threats, intimidation, violence, harassment, criminal harassment actions, the stalking, the slandering, the labelling, the defaming, the victim opens their mouth and it's, you're accused of being aggressive, or it's like you could be the most placid person in the world, and this is the shit they're going to pull with you. Now, is their actions any different to actually committing the crimes against them? Right? Because this is what I'm trying to say. They'll accuse their victims of these crimes who are not committing these crimes. They're then turning themselves, they're victimizing their victims. Is their actions any less than trying to criminally assault their victims? Because I don't believe they are. All it is a reversal of the victim being accused, but these people in positions of power are actually carrying out the crimes, and then blaming the victims for the crimes they're actually carrying out. And this is how it goes day after day. There's allegations, innuendo, speculation, manufacturing, and while they have the slave trade control of your life, and they're trying to invent and manufacture their own injuries to attack your sanity and send you down a path of psychiatrists, which is away from your injuries. Now, I don't think you'd need a psychiatrist to deal with a spinal injury. Or I don't think you'd need a psychiatrist to deal with a laceration to a left forearm. I don't think you would need a psychiatrist to deal with trapped nerves. These are the injuries that I suffered when I fell off the roof. So I'm trying to work out how anybody can justify sending my life down a path of psychiatrists when I never had any. I was the most placid person that ever walked. So then what you have is, and some things you don't find out for years, is every time you have a conversation with somebody, they're writing down a derogatory statement or something nasty, or accusing you of this, that, or the other. And you don't find out for years later, and they've never been investigated, they've never even been brought to your attention. And all of a sudden you're going, where did all that come from? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? This is why you need to video record every word you speak to, even a doctor, even a specialist. No matter where you go, if it's involving ACC, the Crown and the government, you need to video record everything for matter of fact and record. And it's time consuming, and it costs you a lot of money in the end. But if you actually look at it, their actions are actually attempted murder on their victims' lives. Their intent is to destroy their victims' lives, destroy their victims' credibility, destroy their victims' characters, and literally do it all through hearsay, lies, innuendo, speculation, and manufacturing, and then declare themselves to be victims that they're not. And they've done this to my life for 20 years. And nobody, I've had a couple of agreements with them. And each time they just renege on it, and they just get up to their trickery, chicanery, and deceptions. And they go straight back to their intimidation, threats, violence, kidnapping, harassment, criminal harassment. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse every time. they're involved in defrauding me. They're involved in their slave trade actions and literally controlling my entire life and outcome and the path that my life's been taken. They've had me stalked. They've had my family stalked. Complaints made to the police. You know, the police won't give you any information on who was actually stalking you. You know, I mean, but you know it's ACC and a private investigators and all their bullshit. You know, even when all the private investigation stuff was finished, then it was a case of police then stepped in and did the job for them. Following the secret meeting in Parliament on the 20th of June 2007, when it was declared an act of war against me, that nobody at that meeting is able to be questioned because nobody will hand over the names. And the government refuses to call for an inquiry because they're too busy carrying out their murder or attempted murder on my life. Now, my life has been controlled by their fear and violence. The foundation has been laid by them. The more I stand up for myself, the more I speak out, the more they're trying to manufacture all their shit. I mean, they say their intent is to criminally provoke, torment, torture, terrorize you, frustrate you, wear you down mentally, psychologically, emotionally, physically, and financially. Because it benefits them if they can get you to lose the plot. Then you're into their jurisdiction of they can do whatever the fuck they like. But even if you don't lose the plot, they're going to accuse you of it anyway, like is already proven in my case. But the real problem here is, I believe that if my case ends in a last resort, that the Prime Minister and all the Cabinet Ministers should be charged with murder, or attempted murder, whichever one it is, because they're the people controlling the criminality in this case. And they're the people who are refusing to put all the facts on the table and refusing to call for a Royal Commission of Inquiry into my case. So, literally, in my view, the Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who claims every life matters, doesn't give a fuck who she gets killed as long as it's not her and her fucking cronies that she's looking after. As long as she's covering up and obstructing and perverting the courses of justice every step of the way, as long as she's getting to hold her victim, her slave trade victim, criminally to blackmail and ransom for the rest of their life. And that is the situation. There's no rehabilitation, there's no injuries getting addressed. Their actions are to accuse you of abuse, threats, intimidation, whatever, all the way through it. They want to provoke a threat to kill. Well, they're never going to get a threat to kill from me. They might end up fucking getting somebody killed, but there won't be any fucking threats behind it. That really depends on how they're going to handle this. But the reality is that I'm the one being held criminally to blackmail and ransom. I'm the one being held in Mexican standoffs. I'm the one who doesn't have any complaints addressed by any of the administrations, the Ombudsman, the police, the Crown Law Office, literally throw everything out on behalf of the government. The Human Rights Commission doesn't do their job. The Privacy Commission doesn't do their job. And Privacy Commission's no good anyway because everybody involved in my case uses false names. And my case has been managed by all their lawyers in Wellington who never answer a question. All your privacy requests that you request, they either give you piecemeal fashion garbage or they give you nothing at all, depending on what they're standing against. But the media don't help you. Nobody helps you. They just want to buy time, according to their own police. They said they just want to buy time. The act of war that they committed against me is now declared an off-the-cuff remark. They put me in a fucking prison. They put me in a mental asylum just so I couldn't video record any of the stuff they were doing to me. They wouldn't let me see my kids for a month. And then they tried, while I was in their custody, all I got was intimidation, abuse, threats, harassment, criminal harassment, and placed in some very dangerous situations. And prison is a very dangerous place, and you're not protected in it. The government wanted someone else to do their dirty work in the prison. and they try to provoke situations for me all the time. Even in police cells at the courts, they have me pepper sprayed for asking for a cup of tea. It doesn't matter how placid you are, how nice you are, how calm you are, how polite you are. These people think that you should be frightened of them and frightened to answer questions or frightened to challenge them. There's a lot of fear involved in that, but at the end of the day, I call a spade and I'll challenge anybody who's committing crimes against me. But you're not served and protected by the New Zealand police or the New Zealand government or the Ombudsman's office, because they've got a get out of jail free card. And according to them, they didn't do any investigations because they don't have to if they don't want to. Privacy Commission doesn't do their job. The Human Rights Commission doesn't do their job. And the secret meeting in Parliament, when it was declared an act of war against me, literally involved using every administration and organisation to actually commit the crimes against me. And then these people then want to turn it from the crimes that they're actually committing and the abuse and the threats and the violence that they're actually instigating and dishing out to you, and the stalking and the harassment and the criminal harassment all the way through it. And every time you go in and make a complaint, they turn it around to themselves and turn themselves into victims. And that's the government doing that. And the courts do that. You know, you'll have court hearings and you'll have transcripts of court hearings. And half of what is said in the court is removed from the transcripts. Now that's another problem with the New Zealand justice system. They're removing evidence and information, even threats, from their transcripts. Judges are threatening people in court and those threats are being taken out of transcripts. Can you believe that? The entire case is literally... Too many bloody mozzies here. The entire case is an absolute disgrace. But it is my view that if the Prime Minister of New Zealand does not call for a Royal Commission inquiry into my case to address the crimes of all her administrations and all the people she's had involved in my case, that she is committing an act of attempted murder at the very least. Her actions are misfeasance in public office, and the criminal intent in this case is to provoke a last resort outcome to where I can defend myself to the maximum extent practicable, which I can defend myself to the maximum extent practicable anyway, because they declared an act of war against me. But the intent is for me to never have any laws of criminal provocation where I can defend myself in a court of law. And there is no laws to cover criminal entrapment in New Zealand. That's why they're able to carry out all their threats, intimidation, violence, and literally be the criminal committing the crimes against their victims, who are literally held criminally to blackmail and ransom under their slave trade actions. Because all they're doing is the government's just sold your life to a third party, ACC, and literally let them do whatever they like, and the government just sat back and said, oh, it's between you and ACC, and then they go, well, you can take it to review, you can take it to appeal. 99% of the stuff that you can take to review, that should be taken to review, is crimes that are being committed by these people in positions of power. The review isn't interested in any of that. They're only interested in arguing their little one question or one point or one decision made by ACC. Is this valid? Is this not? And every time I go to review, it's always because those involved are manufacturing all the evidence against me and manufacturing ways to try and get rid of my claim for free, but they're not addressing my rehabilitation or my injuries. And this is the whole problem. So what I'm telling you is all straight now. Listen, I've reached the last resort situation in this case a long time ago, but I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I've given the Prime Minister the option of a last resort or a Royal Commission of Inquiry. If she chooses to not call for a Royal Commission of Inquiry, then she's choosing murder over justice. Okay? She's choosing to attack a victim and hold a victim in a slave trade situation, in a criminally blackmailing, holding to ransom situation over all else. And if that is the Prime Minister standing, then her intention is murderous. And that's my final standing on this case. So I hope you all understand that. I've never been the one to instigate any violence or any threats or any intimidation or anything in this case. I've always stayed away whenever I've been backed into a corner, and I have been backed into a corner. I've even been backed to the point where I had to leave the country. And it's cost me everything. So the only thing it hasn't cost me so far is my actual life. But that's the only thing I've got left to lose. So she's now got her last option. And she better have all the medical professionals in front of me answering all my questions very soon. And I want everything video recorded. And just in case this turns out to be one of those cases that they go on the attack, the first thing I'll be asking for is the Northern Irish Catholic representative to the British High Commission to represent me, to come and listen to the facts of this entire case, and to get answers on why the New Zealand government lied to the Northern Ireland representative in Derry City the first time. So that's the first thing I'm going to be asking for. They denied me it the last time when I asked for it, and when they had me in custody for 2 months, and they wouldn't give me any access to the British High Commission, the Northern Ireland representative for the British High Commission. So that's where we've got a problem, people. These people are breaking the law. They're even lying to their own MPs in relation to a lot of the crimes. And the MPs and the ministers and prime ministers are all covering up their crimes. So, you know, I've already been told I better watch my back. I've already been advised by an ombudsman I would need a gun to resolve it. I've already been advised by the New Zealand police this is an act of war against me, and that I'd be better off leaving the country, and that it was personal against me. So, you know, it's like 20 years people this has been going on. The last 13 years the government's just literally helped me criminally to blackmail and ransom, and they've defrauded me of 14% tax over 4 years after when they illegally and unlawfully with criminal intent suspended all my rights and entitlements. So, and they still haven't addressed any of the injuries, and they left me with more injuries, a neck injury and 2 arms like 2 lead weights, like I said before. And that was due to being attacked in the back of a police car in relation to I didn't turn up to court once, and they put a warrant out for my arrest. And when they put a warrant out for my arrest, I rang them up to pick me up. And they told me for 3 days running, we'll do it when we're ready, we'll do it when we're ready, we'll do it when we're ready. And I'm just sitting there going, so there was no resisting arrest, there was no intention, I couldn't even resist arrest anyway, I could hardly even bloody walk. And then the first chance they got then when they attacked me in the back of a police car and I collapsed at the police station, they didn't give me any help then. What they did do was give me bail very, very quickly over that incident. So, yeah. It was a pretty hard one. It's not nice when you're stuck in the back of a police car and you think you're going to become a paraplegic in about 2 seconds flat. And you've got no strength. You just lose all the strength in your body when it happens. And you lose all feeling from your head to toe. Very frightening thing, actually. Fucking animals. Anyway, I just dwell on it sometimes. See it in my dreams sometimes too. And it makes me angry. But it would make anybody angry. But anyway, there is no help. So the Prime Minister's got a choice. She's either committing murder or she's out for justice and accountability. That is entirely your choice, Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern and Justice Minister Andrew Little. That is the only options left in this case. You're either committing murder or you're giving me justice. But you're the one committing the murders, not me. Because your intention is to fucking murder my life. And you've been murdering it for 20 fucking years. So, I want everybody to know that you're the ones carrying out the murders in these cases, and you're trying to get other people killed so then you can blame the victims for the crimes you're actually committing. And that's the problem I have. Your police do not police your actions and your crimes. You want to drive people to last resorts, and then you want to say they're the problem when you're not even giving a victim a forum to be heard. You are oppressing, you are suppressing, you are giving gagging orders to your TV media not to interview a victim. You are giving your media excuses for your defrauding your victim with criminal intent. And the victims are not being questioned by your TV media that you're giving out that information to. You people are the most organized crime, criminal racketeering criminals I've ever come across. You're not running rehabilitation. New Zealand is not a democracy, and those running it are nothing but state terrorists, lynch mobs, vigilantes, and kidnapping lowlife, violating, raping thugs of people's lives. So, the onus lays with you, Jacinda. So, if this case ends in violence of any kind, you're the one creating it, you're the one carrying it out, and you're the one taking away people's rights for justice and accountability, and the rights to defend themselves to the maximum extent practicable, because you want to get away with your criminal racket using ACC and running your slave trade, because you sold my life to a third party and you let them carry out every crime under the sun. You didn't have their crimes policed, because you don't police your own crimes. You do all your own internal investigations, and you lie through your teeth and you cover up all the crimes you're actually involved in. Now, when you take a victim's life who's never had a criminal history in any of his life, never had any violence, drugs, alcohol, nothing, and this is what their life becomes under ACC, then you have to answer for why the case is now one of to last resorts that you created, and what you put victims through over years and years and years and years of your torment and torture and terrorizing, abuse, threats, intimidation and violence. I deem your actions at this point in my life attempted murder, but I'm sure other people could have you charged with murder if they actually knew what you put victims through. So that's my standing. If you refuse me a Royal Commission of Inquiry, then you are guilty of misfeasance in public office, and you are guilty of attempted murder at the very least. I hope you all understand that. Tell that to the United Nations. That should be interesting. Why are you frightened to put all the facts on the table, Jacinda? The other point is, you can always sit in front of me and answer all my questions anytime, but it'll be fully video recorded. You know, I don't want any false allegations for I said this or I said that or I said the other when they're all untrue. Any meetings that I have or anything that goes on with me had better be video recorded 24/7. So, I suppose I'll find out my fate when I get back to NZ, won't I? Even my doctor's frightened to even talk to me, because the only answer she gives me after 10 years of all my medical notes and medical files disappearing is, I've got no medical notes or medical files to go on. So what the fuck has she been doing for 10 years? Right? And nobody else will take the case on because there is no medical notes and medical files. What you do is you make the victim start again and again and again and again. Always come back to the start. He's destroyed all my ACC files and all the evidence of all the corruption and criminality you're involved in, and the millions that you spent having my life and my family stalked, harassed, criminally harassed. And you did spend millions, I know that. Private investigators 24/7 for about, what, 8 years? And then you had your police then 24/7 for the next 13 years. You don't run rehabilitation, you run state terrorism. And I'm not taking any more of your shit. Give me my fucking life back. Like Jan White said, ACC can never be involved in management of your claim ever again, and the agreement that I signed to get my life out of your controls out of your possession, out of your ownership, and a medical certificate that you use for people's ownership. You're running a slave trade. ACC is not compensating people, it is defrauding people every day. And you're milking it all and, I don't know, making billions for the country, but you're doing it at the expense of turning your victims' lives into bloody products. You're not running rehabilitation. There's no logic, there's no reason, there's no common sense behind any of your actions. The only thing you do in my case is all be silent. Well, silence isn't going to do any good from now on. It's about time you start getting some integrity and some morals and some ethics and some principles. You know, the things that you fucking lack. All the talk and all the bullshit to the United Nations and your media putting out all your propaganda and you putting out all your garbage on Facebook Live and all your tweets and all the rest of it. People are going to know what you're saying is you're full of shit. Because you are full of shit. You are either going to show that everything you say, you stand by. Empathy, kindness, we are one. Every life matters. Your words. But your actions, in my case, prove otherwise. So that's where you come down now to your Royal Commission of Inquiry, proving that you can actually stand up for yourself and stand on your own 2 feet and put the backs up of all your other colleagues who are going to go to jail for what they've done. Or you can stand by your colleagues and refuse a Royal Commission of Inquiry and prove that you're nothing but a murderous acting Prime Minister, which is exactly what you're going to prove. That's some option to have. I'm a bit confused why you haven't held any other ministers before you or Prime Ministers before you and placed their actions and their decisions under serious scrutiny for the crimes that they're actually committing against society. Because there's nothing civil about them. By the way, your police don't even know the difference between a crime and a civil jurisdiction. They actually believe that a civil jurisdiction is something you can't commit a crime behind. So in other words, I think you need to sort out retraining of all your police on what a criminal act is and what a civil act is and what a civil jurisdiction is and what a civil jurisdiction is supposed to represent, and what actually happens in a civil jurisdiction is far from civil. It's all criminal. So I think you need to get some lessons on that and get your laws written up. And I want the laws of criminal provocation repealed back to their former being. I want every forensic psychiatrist of any victim who's been attacked by anyone in a position of power or any department fully video recorded for matter of fact and recorded at all times. That way it protects all the victims from all the bullshit that you put them through and all your lies and the endless speculation manufacturing. So, no more hearsay in courtrooms should be allowed. Videotapes should be used at all times. And when a person's having a court case, I think the public should actually see what's happening in those court cases. Right? And when you're calling juries and putting juries together, I think you should actually do something about the fact that the Crown and the government are actually putting certain people on their juries to find people guilty. That much I do know. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. So now you decide whether you're a murderer or whether you're a law-abiding Prime Minister and you're seeking justice and accountability and you're willing to stand up for that. I suppose I'll find that out in the next 3 weeks, won't I?